A very good evening, and thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It was a chilly night and it was a chilly day across many portions of the British Isles, with temperatures at the slightly below average for the time of the year. Another chilly night to come tonight, and thanks to a bump in the isobars, we've got a little bit of high pressure between weather systems, so it's allowing the skies to clear out, and with light winds, the temperatures will come down and are coming down, of course, with darkness already setting in. Got an area of low pressure up towards the North Atlantic here. That feature will be making inroads across the British Isles in the coming days, and it will increase the chance of showers, longer spells of rain, and increased wind as well. As we play through the loop, you can see here that the system gradually starts to weaken as it moves closer to the UK, still well to the west of the British Isles by several hundred miles, if you notice here, during the middle portion of tomorrow. But we've got an associated frontal system with that low crossing the UK, so a spell of increased showers and breeze will affect many portions of the UK. It looks as if it becomes a little weaker as it moves eastwards, and eventually, as we go into the second half of the weekend, that feature does start to move in. It continues to weaken, almost showing up as a filled low by the time it reaches the UK. But we are going to see a spell of fairly heavy persistent rain across southern areas of the British Isles. Keeping our eyes close to this feature here to the west of that. In comes that next feature as we move into the new working week here. Its associated frontal system will bring a spell of heavy persistent rain and gale force winds as we move Monday into Tuesday of next week. So we continue to see this unsettled theme going. But as we go towards the middle and second half of the week, we do start to see changes taking place. Now we have got a fairly long line of heavy, persistent, even thundery rain associated with this sharp boundary here between warm subtropical air and cold polar air coming in on the backside. Notice here we've got that system almost in an identical position to the area of low pressure, the remnants of Martin that we have got currently. You can see that it's almost in the same position during Thursday of next week. Of course, this is the GFS, this is one model run, and there will be variations in the overall solution towards the middle and second half of next week. But what is going to be noteworthy is we're going to have a run of south to southwesterly winds. The reason why is we're going to see high pressure retrograde westwards over the continent, start to shield many portions of the UK from weather. So therefore, western fringes of Ireland and Scotland in particular will see rainfall, but it looks as if high pressure is going to become the more dominant player. And as we continue to press towards next weekend, you can see here that high pressure is almost keeping weather systems back towards the Atlantic here, so missing much of the British Isles according to this run. If we look at the GFS here and we look at the upcoming 5 days, you can see here the trough kind of leaning over the British Isles, so that's why we're going to see more wind and rain affecting the UK. But as I play through this GFS ensemble run here, you can see here that the area of high pressure retrogrades west, keeping the weather largely out over the Atlantic, and we go through a settled, warmer spell towards the middle portion of the month here. So that is something worth keeping close eye on as we go forward here. Is the modelling now starting to kind of show something a little bit different to what I kind of have been alluding to in recent days? Possibly. I'm not necessarily backing things off because the Mount-Julian Oscillation is progressing eastwards through the tropics, and of course we have had Martin lift north over the Atlantic here, and it's likely to have been pushing warmth into the high latitude region of the planet here. So do we see this downstream effect something similar to what we've seen back in September? That is the question, and I have alluded to the fact that what I'm talking about doesn't necessarily have to happen, but it is a possibility. And I will continue to kind of allude to that fact that it's just possible. The atmosphere has and does its own thing, and we can only try and interpret what we're seeing. So pinpointing with accuracy exactly what's going to take place is pretty much impossible. But all I can do is allude to what I'm seeing on the table and the possible parameters and what the possible result of that may be. But it's interesting here, certainly the GFS indicating that the heaviest precipitation focused on the western shores of Wales, northwest England, around the Cumbria area, of course, West Highlands and western portions of Ireland here through the next, 15 or so days. Looking at it's interesting actually looking at the 7 day upcoming period here of the CFSV2. We've got a very, very warm area of high pressure over the eastern portion of North America, cold over the west of North America, as you can see here, particularly so over Western Canada. Look at how warm Europe is, but also look at how warm compared to normal Siberia is, and that's something worth keeping a close eye on, I think, as we play through the loop. It looks as if we're going to maintain a rather warm look over Europe and over North America, and this takes us out to the middle portion of December, by the way. Let's have a look at the upper air pattern here and see what it's showing here for the period here. So if I can get the right chart, it would help, and we'll go back to week 1. You can see what's taking place here. So of course we've got the trough focused over the Atlantic here. We've got that stronger than normal ridge over the southwest, big summer-like ridge over the eastern portion of North America, trough over the west, so that's why we've got the cold, of course. Then as we play through the loop here, you notice here that as the Atlantic tries to push towards Europe, that area of high pressure is building northwards here. But notice here how the focus of heights has shifted west over Europe, and that may indicate, in a sense, almost the opposite of what has been alluded to here about the possible turnaround in the upper atmosphere during the second half of November. And the modelling does have difficulty pinpointing the behaviour of the Madden-Julian oscillation, the release of heat northwards, and the overall upper level setup, the ridge trough pattern. Sometimes when you've got this, the Madden-Julian oscillation become a little bit stronger and it progresses eastwards, from Africa, Indian Ocean, continental maritime region into the West Pacific, even Central Pacific, even the Atlantic. The modelling has a hard time sometimes focusing on where that release of warmth northwards dictates the upper air pattern. And I think we're coming up against a difficult and complex situation when it comes to the atmosphere and the connection between tropics and Arctic region. So it's certainly going to be interesting to continue watching. It's certainly North Atlantic Oscillation, according to the GFS Ensemble, maintains this theme. We do have outliers that indicate that the NAO goes negative. We also have a lot of outliers on the opposite end of the scale showing the positive. And then we've got that kind of in between. The dotted line indicates that it stays largely above the neutral line as we go into the second week of November here. The Arctic Oscillation, something very similar here, leaning towards a positive as opposed to negative here. So that certainly cannot be dismissed overall. Looking at the 2-meter temperatures globally for today, we're sitting at 0.2 Celsius above normal here. We've got several areas of significant warmth, Central and Eastern Europe, eastern portions of North America, still quite a lot of cold over the north and the west of the continent, over Alaska as well. And there's a lot of warmth here over central portions of Asia as well. Below normal, if you notice here, eastern China, into the Koreas, parts of Japan as well. Australia has seen a lot of cold as well. Central and southern portions of Africa, a large swathe of South America is below normal as well, which is quite interesting here. Antarctica, funny enough, minus 1.3. The tropics, 0.2 Celsius below normal, which is interesting. So yeah, this is where the global temperature is looking for today. So yeah, keep it right here. As always on my channel, please do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and share with your friends and family. I'll be back again hopefully tomorrow with more. Bye for now.